I
Yeah.
have read and appreciated and admired your work in Cool Cleveland for a while now. So
Oh,
we're glad to be a part of it.
well, listen, that is nothing compared to what you've done here. I'm Thomas Mulready from CoolCleveland.com. We are here with Kristin Warzocha from the Cleveland Food Bank. Now, I want to thank you for your service. You've been there, what, 20 years or so at the food bank,
Yeah.
and you've been the CEO and president now for 5 years. Tell me the truth. Is this the worst that you've seen it in all those years?
Oh, absolutely. I've never seen anything close to this. And I've talked to food bankers who've been at this for longer than I have, and no one can remember a time like this in terms of increased demand for our services
Right.
and increased demand for our services so quickly. You know, the last recession, absolutely more people were in need of food, but it was a gradual climb. You know, it was a curve, like the curve we're talking about now. And so we had more time to respond and more time to plan ahead and to be strategic about how we could serve the community at a heightened level. This is very different. This is like hitting a brick wall. You know, one day the economy was great, and the next day we had a huge crisis on our hands. And so, and add to that all of the new guidance and trying to keep everybody safe while responding
Right.
at a heightened level. And
Yeah.
you know, these are new times for certain.
It seems like a perfect storm. You know, you've got the illness, you've got job loss, layoffs, you've got issues with the food supply right now. You've got these meat plants that are not doing well. You've got the supply chain that's not doing well.
Mm-hmm.
All of it at once. And talk about your supply chain, because normally you're getting donations from, say, restaurants and places that are just not operating now.
Right. You know, typically, I should go back. I should say the reason that our food bank was founded and most food banks were founded was to take food, perfectly good food that would otherwise go to waste, and get it out to agencies and to people who needed it. And that food was going to waste for a number of reasons. In most cases, it was surplus product in the food chain, or it was product with a packaging mistake, for example. Well, you know, and even today, in a normal year, up to 50% of our food is donated. So we're bringing in tens of millions of pounds of donated food from all across the food industry, whether that's farmers or distributors or manufacturers or retailers. All those folks work together and they contribute what they can. Well, you know, with all of these challenges in the supply chain, and frankly, folks turning to the supermarket more than they have in years, there is very little surplus of the sorts of things that are typically donated to us. And so our food donations have plummeted at a time that the need is skyrocketing.
Right.
We received less than half our normal food donations in the month of March. And so what's happened is that we've had to buy food to bring in to make up for that. And we've had the ability to buy some produce from Ohio farmers, which has been great to support those efforts, and to try to be creative about other things that we can bring in, as well as shelf-stable food. But it means that our costs are going up.
Well, your needs are tremendous.
Product.
Talk about your needs. I mean, you've got these lines that are miles long. I mean, you're delivering millions of pounds of food. I mean, talk about some of the things, because I don't think people realize it unless they see you in action or they need the service themselves or with their family. Talk about how much service you're actually delivering these days.
Yeah. So to put it into perspective, the Greater Cleveland Food Bank and our partner agencies served 20,000 more families in March and April than we did in January and February. That number, I think, is even more important or impressive in my view, frankly, because 200 of our 1,000 member programs have closed. They've been forced to close because of this pandemic. So they're based in a school where they provide meals to low-income kids, or it's a senior center that provides a congregate meal to seniors, or it's a food pantry that's run entirely by volunteers who were all in high-risk groups. They can't be out right now. And so we're distributing a lot more food, about 600,000 more pounds of food than last year at this time, with 200 fewer partner agencies.
Wow.
And so one of the ways that we've tried to fill that gap and respond to increasing need is through drive-through distributions. It is one of the safest models of food distribution right now because you can be socially distant, and also provide support. And so we did our first drive-through distribution in March here at our facility. We served about 1,200 families. It was very busy. It was one of the largest direct distributions we'd ever done. We knew then that we needed to keep at it, so we did a second one a week later at our facility. We served about 1,600 families before the traffic got so bad, the line was 3.5 miles long, that Cleveland police had to shut down the line simply because we had such traffic controls. I mean, essentially, it was woven throughout our entire Collinwood neighborhood. Nobody could get in or out of the neighborhood for hours. We had businesses nearby providing essential services whose teams couldn't get to work for their second shift because the traffic was too bad. And so we realized then that we were going to need to find a new location, and reached out to the city, and they were kind enough to let us use the Muni lot. And so we've been doing these on a weekly basis in the Muni lot ever since. And we've served about 17,000 families so far through those distributions. And roughly a third of those families are new. They've never needed help before from the food bank or any of our partner agencies. Folks that have been laid off, had hours cut, and simply have not known where to turn. And so they've turned to the food bank.
And that's the one of the major points, I think. I mean, we have a systemic problem, and the fact that we need the food bank day in and day out, week in and week out, is criminal in the land of plenty and in a land of abundance that we live in. But then on top of it, you've got a lot of people who have not taken advantage of these services. What do you actually offer to people so that they know? Obviously, you're handing out, you used to do meals. Now you're just handing out boxes, I assume, because of the logistics and the nature. But you serve other people too, right? Kids, seniors?
Absolutely. So we're doing all sorts of things, and some of them are new. You know, traditionally, what food banks have done, and what our food bank did for the first 30 years of our history, is we were almost a clearinghouse. We took in food from the food industry of all types, and then we made that available to our 1,000 programmatic partners. They could order the food that they needed from the food bank. Well, over the last 10 years, we have expanded our programming to focus more on high-risk children, knowing that hunger when you're a child can have a significant long-term impact on your ability to learn and grow and affect your life for many years. So we started focusing on bringing in partners who serve low-income children. And we've got an on-site kitchen where we're able to provide meals. We can actually make meals and distribute those to those sites. Now, most of those sites are closed right now because they're school-based, or they can't bring kids together in a safe way. But for the handful that are open, we are providing grab-and-go meals. So a child can go to the location and take a meal home. We also provide meals in our kitchen, hot meals, to a lot of senior sites, senior congregate feeding sites, for example, some Meals on Wheels programs. So for the handful of those that remain open, we are still doing that. Some of them have turned to home delivery, which is wonderful. So in those cases, we're packing boxes. We're trying to do whatever it is that our partners need and that our clients need. So in addition to the drive-through distributions, we also have really ramped up our Backpack for Kids program. That's a program where we provide a bag of food, typically at the end of the week, that a child who really relies on free and reduced price breakfast and lunches can take home over the weekend. And it's 6 meals. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner for Saturday and Sunday that are very kid-friendly. They could be prepared, say, by a kid who's home alone because they've got a parent or parents who are working all weekend. Even though a lot of those sites have closed, we've brought on some new partners, and we have doubled the number of bags that we're preparing here in our warehouse every week. So one of our new partners, for example, is the Parma City School District. There are a lot of working poor families in Parma. That has long been an underserved area when we look at the level of food insecurity compared to the number of agencies who are there. And we know that that's a neighborhood that has been very hard hit by this crisis. So any child who goes to the Parma City schools to pick up a grab-and-go lunch, which they are providing, also has the opportunity to take one of those bags home for the weekend. We're doing the same thing with all 22 of the CMSD sites that are offering grab-and-go meals. On weekends, all those kids are able to take these bags home, and we're doing it for a lot of other partners too.
So for people that want to get involved, our readers, Cool Cleveland, or people that might see this, I love you because you're quoting Dr. Amy Acton as well when she says, "Don't be scared, be determined," and that means turn it around. I mean, for those that volunteer, they know that the minute you start volunteering, the focus stops on your problems and you start to focus on how you can help, and it lifts your spirits in ways. You come back feeling so wonderful that I don't think people, they think I'm having a hard time myself. I've got no capacity to help, but you do. How do people get involved and help you, and what are you looking for?
So there are a lot of different ways that people can help. And there's a lot of information available on our website, which is greaterclevelandfoodbank.org, but I will highlight a few of them. Of course, financial contributions are always helpful. You know, as I said earlier, we're buying a lot of food. You can also sign up to advocate. You know, we have been spending a lot of time educating our elected officials about things that they can do to help. Whether it is increasing funding for SNAP, which is our nation's first line of defense against hunger and also supports the local economy, or giving us flexibilities in how we distribute food to keep it safe. And so we've got a wonderful advocates network, and we're always looking for more advocates, people who are willing to pick up the phone or send an email or write a letter on our behalf. Right. And there are volunteer opportunities. You know, it's interesting because when you mentioned earlier the perfect storm, this was part of the perfect storm. The food bank relies on about 400 volunteers a week who give their time to work in our warehouse, to make meals in our kitchen, pack boxes in our repack room, and take on all sorts of projects. Well, many of those volunteers come to us as part of a school group or a corporate group. And so, you know, when the stay-at-home order was announced and schools were shut down, in 1 week, we had 1,400 volunteers cancel. Almost everybody for that week and for the next 2 weeks. And we realized very quickly that was going to be a huge problem for us. And so we reached out to the governor in partnership with the Ohio Association of Food Banks, asked him to deploy the National Guard to food banks across Ohio. And we are incredibly grateful that he did. We've had National Guardsmen here since late March, 75 of them full-time, doing a lot of the jobs that volunteers typically do. And that is what has allowed us to continue this service and also really ramp up in response to demand. And so we have not had volunteers in our building for a number of weeks because we want to meet social distancing requirements. And with 75 more folks in the warehouse, we didn't have that possibility. Well, summer is coming. The summer meals program is coming. And that means we got to figure this out because we've got a lot of grab and go meals that we're going to be packing every day. And so at the end of the last week in May, we are looking to reactivate volunteers. We're working very hard to do this safely. We're going to require mask wearing. We're going to bring them in much smaller groups than we typically have in the past so that we can practice social distancing in our warehouse, but we're going to need people. And so as soon as those shifts are available, we will post them on our website. And if you've got readers who are able to help, we'd love to have them help.
I know the Cleveland Foundation has got their COVID-19 Rapid Response Fund, which then funds groups like yourselves and others. You've got your Harvest for Hunger campaign also hanging out there, which is an annual thing for you. But it might give people a reason to jump in and do something maybe they hadn't done in the past. But I assume the best way is to really go to greaterclevelandfoodbank.org and find a way to get involved and get engaged with the community.
It is. That would be wonderful. Anybody can make a gift online. You could also set up a virtual food drive if you'd like to engage other people in the effort. We've had some folks get really creative. A photographer in Lakewood did family front porch photos. She rode her bike around Lakewood and she took a picture of my family sitting on our front porch. It was wonderful. And she did so from a safe social distance, you know, using a special lens. And then she simply encouraged people, if they would like, after the fact, to make a gift to the food bank. $5,000 came in. It was incredible what this one very talented photographer did. I think she was amazed by the generosity of Lakewoodites. Oh, this is Amy McNamee. That's incredible. People have been very creative.
Oh, well, listen, thank you so much for taking just a few moments here. I can't imagine what you're going through. The community's behind you. We're going to do our best to get the word out here. Stay safe, stay strong, and we will pitch in and help. That's all I can say. This community will come together.
Thomas, we're all fans of Cool Cleveland at the Greater Cleveland Food Bank. We're thrilled to be talking with you, and we so appreciate your support. I am grateful every day to live in Cleveland. It's a town, unfortunately, with a lot of poverty and a lot of challenges, but at the same time, very, very generous people, and that is on full display.
Yeah,
right
we've
now.
been philanthropic from the beginning. We invented it in some ways, the Cleveland Foundation being the first community foundation in the entire country. People here know what it means. The reason you live here is because you want to be with this great community, and they know how to help. Thank you. Please pass along our thanks to your team there that are working overtime in difficult conditions.
I'm so proud of them. They're working really hard. You're right. But this community support is making it all possible. So thank you. We'll get through this.
We will.
And we'll do it together.
Thank you for being our heroes. Thank you, Kristin.
Thanks, Thomas.
It's Thomas Mulready from coolcleveland.com. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.